Hi, I'm Janet Bailey. I'm a retail designer in Brisbane and I love chatting about all things retail. And I've got a great mate in Melbourne who loves to do the same.
I do indeed. And I'm Debra Templar, retail strategist. And when Janet and I get together, we talk retail like you wouldn't believe. We have to
We sure
behave
do.
ourselves, really.
And we also like to make it clear that these are our own thoughts and opinions as well. So, Deb, I've been watching op shops lately, and it's something you and I have talked about in the past. And it's an amazing market that I think is not often recognized in terms of the big league of retail. In between kind of the big players in Australia, so let's say Salvos and St. Vinny's and
Green
Red.
Cross.
Yep. So between those three, I think that the number is up around 1,000 stores across Australia. And then there's a lot of small players as well, RSPCA, there's various blind associations and lots of independents.
Mm.
And it really is incredible. I had a bit to do with one of the chains in the last 18 months. I've been doing some store design work with them. These chains, the big ones, even have merchandisers, they have merchandising books, and it's a real eye opener. And I think just growing and growing.
It's a real sea change to what they used to be, isn't it? Where there
Yeah.
were no merchandisers.
Yeah.
You'd sort of walk into them and there was a smell.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, gee whiz. Now, honestly, that they're up there with the best shops. They know how to visual merchandise. They know about adjacencies. They colour block.
Yes.
They're doing really well.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of the big chains are really switched on now that they've come to be aware that, people are those days when people would walk in and, find the donated Valentino jacket or some amazing find like that. They're training their prices now in the background so that you're not just a volunteer who gets thrown on pricing clothing. You're actually being trained up to recognize your brands, and be able to know how to price so that those amazing finds are not just walking out the door for $10.
Absolutely. And of course, that then brings us to the slightly different but similar, which are the consignment shops. Again, I can think of one strip that's got three.
Yes. I think you've got a few more down in Victoria and Melbourne than what we have up here. We do have them, but I went into an amazing one in Melbourne recently and was quite blown away. The range of clothing, and it was all secondhand, was, up around $1,000 for a pair of pants, $800 jackets. And I noticed in this store layout that they had a girl just sitting on a dedicated counter, and that was where people came to if they wanted to bring their clothing in for consignment to have it assessed and valued. And in between clients and talking to people bringing clothing in, she was just browsing through all this stack of fashion magazines, keeping herself abreast of what brands, what clothing, what looks, etc. It was really quite incredible for me to watch.
I think there are those two streams. There's the high end,
Yes.
and then you've got the lower end, for want of a better word, where you get your basics. I certainly know a lot of the thrifters are saying it's so hard now to find a Valentino for $10. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is hard. It is hard now. It has changed.
Yeah. I think the other thing that's kind of probably to a degree eaten into that op shop market is now platforms such as Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace and the Gumtree. So people, if they do have those, are probably aware that, hey, I can make the dollars for myself by selling it on these platforms. But then there's also a lot of people who just can't be bothered having to go through that whole photographing, writing the ad, and having strangers come to them or meet up with a stranger somewhere, or risk being scammed. So there's two schools of thought for that. But Yeah, I find it very interesting just to watch the awareness of these op shop operators. The ones I was involved with, knew at particular stores there were predominantly markets coming in from more upmarket suburbs. So they knew who their shoppers were. They were very aware then of moving stock between their stores. So if they did have some of the nicer designer labels, they might move it over and favor a particular store where the shoppers from the more affluent Brisbane markets were coming into.
Mm, mm.
Yeah,
The other thing I think that is affecting quite a few op shops at the moment is the Shein and Temu's.
yeah,
They're getting a lot of cheap stuff,
yes,
which like I'm sort of happy at least it's getting the opportunity for a second life rather than going into landfill,
yeah.
because they're not going away.
No,
Whether
no,
you
no.
agree or disagree with Shein and Temu, etc., they are
Yeah.
not going away. So it's a matter of how do we handle it?
The store and that sorting process is that some of the clothes that are donated are not going to make the cut. And so a lot of the big companies like the St. Vinnies and Salvos, etc., they have a whole logistics team running in the background with um, trucks and dumping and so on. So they're sorting through going, yep, that's acceptable to put in a store. This is not. So it can, depending on the fabric type, it can then go on and be sold to, the building industry,
Yeah,
painters, for example, who buy their bags of rags and whatnot. But then there's a lot of stuff that gets dumped, and that's a really big cost for a lot of these op shops as well.
absolutely. If I worked in one of those op shops and I came into work and there were bags of rubbish at the front and back door, it would do my head in. I don't think I'd be very pleasant for a while.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
is wrong with people?
Yeah, yeah. So one of the chains that I'd been involved with, they have moved their donation bins inside, but they're close to the door though. So there's a certain kind of acceptable distance from the door that they locate their bins in, because what's happening is that they've now made it so that the staff are greeting the people coming in with their donation bags, and it's enabling them to create a point of making contact and starting a conversation, but it also lets the staff check what they are trying to donate, because people will often try to slip in, a small electrical appliance or something, which most of these op shops can't take because of the
Exactly.
regulations. And so what they found though is that when their donation bins were further from the front door, the further that person had to walk into the store to make the donation and then get rejected made that person angrier. Therefore, the staff had to deal with angry customers, and it was creating a lot more anxiety for their staff. So they've now found this kind of acceptable tolerance of distance, and that's where they put their donation stations.
So in that case, are they still finding that they're getting products in garbage bags dumped at their front door or
Look,
not, like when they're closed?
it depends on the store design. So some of the store designs are able to fully fence themselves, which stops that happening. But others, yes, they're certainly getting that. And there's also peak periods of the year where it happens. Christmas is a phenomenal time for that, because everyone's on holidays and they decide to do the clean
Yeah.
out of the spare cupboard, and then they get carried away, and so they end up with heaps and heaps of bags of stuff. So that's a bad time. I think Easter, I've noticed lately, just around the Easter holidays, that there's been a bit of an overflow at various donation bins as well, and donation shops.
I don't understand why people want to give shabby, unwashed stuff to, goodwill, to an op shop.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's where that whole advertising campaign started about, if it's not good enough to give to your friend, don't give it to us, type of thing. And it's made people stop and think, but obviously there's still a dumping problem. I think there always will be. I did donate my favorite ever pair of shoes a while ago. My I just have not been able to wear heels that high for a while now. But I absolutely love these shoes, and I donated them to one of my local op shops and put a little note in them saying, "These are my favourite shoes. I hope that whoever buys them gets as much joy and happiness as I've had."
Oh, that's wonderful. I have a friend who uh, their mother went into aged care, so they cleaned out a house and everything, and
Yeah,
sister donated everything to op shops. So, and my friend said, "Oh, but Mum really wanted, and I'd have liked to have kept it for her." I said, "Well, go in and see if you can get them back.
yeah,
Go in and be honest." So she went in and took a whole stack of stuff back. But
yeah.
now she's got the habit. She'll go in and she'll go, "You know those gold curtains? Could I have them back?" You know, so she gets them back. And I was talking to her the other day, and she said, "You'll be so proud of me." She said, "I've got new curtains, so I've taken the gold curtains back." But the idea is to give to the op
I
shops
know, I was
and
thinking
not
that.
take it back.
That's how you start a bit of a hoarder habit starting there.
I think so.
Okay, well, I think that pretty much wraps us up then, Deb. So yeah, I'll
Well,
chat with
I'll see you next week.
yes. See you
All
later.
right.